Welcome to Making Ships. We believe that manufacturing is challenging, but if you are connected to a community of leaders, you can elevate your skills, solve your problems, and grow your business. I'm your host, Jim Carr, and I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Jason J.Z. Zanger. How you doing?
I'm good. You did a good job of reading that introduction,
Thank
but
you.
I still think a robot would do a better job than you.
You think so?
I do.
I didn't even have my glasses on and I read it, but I brought up the text font really big so I could see it without my readings on.
Yeah.
How you doing?
A robot would do a better job.
How you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Good.
Yeah.
We are here at Fusion OEM in Burr Ridge, Illinois today. We're doing a remote recording with a really dynamic guest that's going to talk about artificial intelligence
And data collection.
And where automation of the machine shop is heading, right? Because
Yeah, I'm excited.
That's really important to me as an owner of a machine shop, and I know it's important to you. And I know it's important to a lot of people that listen to the show.
Yeah, but it's got to make everybody a little bit nervous because it's high tech and it's
I'm not nervous.
I think you are.
I'm not nervous.
I think you're just.
Do I look nervous?
You're trying to act like a tough guy, but
Okay.
I think
Okay.
you're. And I say
What's
this.
that?
I only say this because like people in the manufacturing leaders out there, they're really good at what they do, but now we're starting to incorporate so many technologies into the industry that are just like, wow, artificial intelligence and robotics and like all this, and it's just different. You know what I mean?
It is. It's definitely different. Well, it's changed. If we do not change, nothing's going to happen.
Yes.
Our culture that we live in and breathe in and work in is susceptible to change. And if we do not change and we do not advance, we're going to be
I agree.
a country and an industry that is not going forward.
I agree.
It's imperative that we change, so we've got to do it, and it's really important.
Yeah, I mean, every time we read about news as it relates to like robotics or artificial intelligence or whatever else in manufacturing, they always talk about, China's going to have, 5 times as many robots. And, but hey, listen, here in the United States, we should not be counted out. I mean, like, I think that we can compete here, and we just need to learn, and we need to try, and we need to figure it out, and we can do it better.
I agree. I could not agree more. But it's good to be here at Fusion with our friend Craig Zobaris is doing a show today on cobot technology, which is much like robotic technology. It's collaborative robots, which is going to be interesting. We're going to have him in the studio after this interview, but man, he's got a great turnout today, and it looks like it's going to be a really good day. The only thing is we're dead smack in the middle of summer, and it's like 100 degrees outside. It's always great to be here with Craig, and he's a little nervous. Did you see him when we walked in?
He's just busy.
He's busy.
Yeah. You're nervous. He's busy.
Well, I don't know about that. But anyway, Jason, what is keeping you awake at night? We always talk about this. We kind of changed it up a little bit, and now we're talking about what's keeping us awake. Not what's new at your company, not what's new at Carr, or Zangers, but what's on your brain?
A lot of times when you know that you're making the right decisions for your company,
Mm-hmm.
it's still any kind of change that you're making is,
I know.
kind of keeps you up a little bit.
Yeah.
And,
You had a bad week, didn't you?
No, I didn't have a bad
Oh,
week.
okay.
It's been a great week, actually.
Okay.
And, when you make personnel changes and, they're necessary and you have a direction for your company that you're going into, it's exciting, but it's a change, and some of those kind of like people changes are tough. You know what I mean? Like, well, but they're good. And I'm excited, and it's going to be, the future is good, and it's just challenging.
Did you have 36 hours of pain?
No, I
didn't?
had a couple hours of pain.
Okay, so then that was the right decision for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure.
Yeah,
Okay,
there's
good.
some decisions that are easier than others.
Yes, I agree.
I
agree.
And especially like when you're wronged, then it's easy to make. You know what I
Yes,
mean?
then it is.
So
I agree.
But and we could talk about this on a future show. You just have to have the right processes in place when you make those kind of decisions.
I agree.
What about you? What's keeping you up at night?
Well, it's basically the same thing. We're very busy at Carr, and it's all capacity issues right now. We're at near capacity, and with capacity issues comes talent, infrastructure. Do we have enough floor space? Do we have enough machinery and equipment? And then developing layers of leadership, because as you grow, you have to put in layers of leadership in between this one and that one.
That's a big change for you.
That's a big change for me. I mean, it's going to be a struggle, but I'm welcome to it, and I look forward to it. But it's definitely a challenge.
So
it definitely keeps me awake at night.
I always had this joke with my dad because like back when Zengers was only say like a dozen people, you know, my dad used to, you know, we'd be in the tool store and he'd look to the left and look to the right and he'd see 90% of his employees. And, you know, now we have 45, 50 people and it's not like that. And it brings us challenges. And, you know, if you grow beyond where you're at now, you're going to have some of those same challenges.
I know.
I was actually thinking about you when I was in the gym recently because I just
Why?
kind of...
Because I work out harder and I'm in better shape than you?
Well, no.
Okay.
I saw a thing about retirement that was on the TV, and it was just, you know, as I was working out, you know, you're walking by and you see the TV monitors and stuff. I listen to podcasts while I'm working out, but
you do?
I do. But it rated the top places to retire, and Nebraska was like #1. And I was like, oh, Jim always talks about like, you know, talking that shop owner in Nebraska, part of the metalworking nation.
Funny.
And maybe as your capacity go up, maybe Nebraska should be your not only your retirement location, but also where you open up, you know,
I don't know.
car machine south.
Honestly,
west or whatever.
West, yeah. I have no idea. I honestly have only been through Nebraska when we did a lot of camping and we were coming back from the West, but never really spent a lot of time there. So I don't know. And when I make that, is that would you call that a metaphor when I say a shop in Nebraska, or just when I make that relation? I don't mean anything negative. I just mean that's a very rural area. To me, it seems very rural, and I always feel like I'm talking to that
You
guy.
can call it a metaphor if you want to. I mean,
Thank you.
like, you know, when you miss words, it's cute.
I know.
So
It is kind of cute. It is kind of cute. Well,
So what's going on at the Boring Bar?
Well, does the Metalworking Nation know what the Boring Bar is? Is it a
No,
place
I want you to
Is it a
explain.
place where I can go, you could go, or the Metalworking Nation can go and get a shot in a beer or a bottle of wine?
It will be eventually.
Okay.
But before
what
then,
is it
what is it now?
Well, I know what it is. It's our weekly newsletter. And there's a lot of good information there. There's a link to every single week's podcast there. There's curated news articles with, you know, our
And how do you get access to the Boring Bar?
All you have to do is text CHIPS, CHIPS, to 38470, or you can go to makingchips.com and subscribe right there. I guarantee the texting thing is really cool. We just started that about 4 weeks ago, and man, as soon as I did that, it was like boom, I was signed up in no time. So yeah, all you got to do is text CHIPS, CHIPS, to 38470, and you are done.
I'm going to do it right now.
Anyway, Jason, what is our manufacturing news for this week? It's got to be relevant and timely.
It is. So our manufacturing news is from AmericanMachinist.com.
I know that publication.
I actually don't.
You don't?
No, but I'm happy to have been acquainted with them.
Okay.
And the title of the article is How AI and IoT will provide insights for manufacturers. And
can we define what those two acronyms are?
Sure. So AI is artificial intelligence, and you know, like in a nutshell, artificial intelligence would be getting, you know, non-human, I guess, machines, computers, stuff like that to make decisions and act like humans, essentially.
Okay.
So like an AI podcast host that I'm going to replace you with eventually.
Good.
So, yeah, I'm going to have the computer listen to all the past
just
episodes.
Make sure that that you send that electronic pension check right into my checking account.
Got it.
Every week.
I think that they can imitate your voice, and you know, I'll have it listen to past episodes, and you know, it'll be just like you, except better.
Good. And IoT?
IoT is the industrial Internet of Things. I mean, they mention it here as IoT. I don't really hear it that much say as IoT, but most people say IoT, and then it's just, which is the Internet of Things, then they apply it to the manufacturing space. And you know, once again, like, you know, when I talk about being nervous, it's not actually nervous, but I think that, you know, manufacturing leaders out there really need to, you know, do some research and see how these types of technologies can impact their business. But you know, what we're talking about here is, you know, you're collecting data. And then essentially you with these IoT devices, and then you have your artificial intelligence, which instead of just displaying the data, it can actually help you to make decisions or make decisions for you. So I guess like a simple way of describing it, Jim, would be like, you know, if you were able to use, you know, artificial intelligence to manage your supply chain, so when to buy materials and stuff like that, which I do know, you know.
Do you think What do you think the percentage of the metalworking nation out there right now is using some form of AI?
Very little.
Is it less than 10%?
Yeah,
Okay.
I would say so.
Okay.
And I think, and I'm not saying that people need to be nervous right now that they're not.
Right.
I'm just saying, just read about it. You know what I mean? Start there. Read some articles. Find out about it.
Educate yourself.
Educate yourself. We're gonna have a guest on today that's gonna help us to understand
Right.
this
Absolutely.
side of the technology,
Right.
and just start to understand it, and then just see where it can be applied to your business soon. But no, I think very few manufacturing leaders are actually implementing artificial intelligence into their shops, but they need to at least start thinking about it.
There are a couple paragraphs that I want to highlight that says artificial intelligence provides the ability to automate tedious tasks and enables machines to learn, alert, improve, advise, and sometimes even make decisions. So you were spot on with your definition. Manufacturing organizations are continuously looking for ways to increase productivity and operational efficiency. Looking to the new growing technology, the industrial Internet of Things, manufacturers are realizing that artificial intelligent technologies are becoming a fundamental enabler of IIoT.
So I would say that the best way to think about this, like two great examples would be, do you remember, and this was, oh my gosh, this must have been decades ago when IBM came up with their great like supercomputer, and they were going to have the best chess player in the world battle against, this IBM computer. So like that would probably be a basic version of
Cool.
artificial intelligence, or like even more advanced version could be the way that, with some of these new cars, like the Tesla cars, how you can essentially, the car can drive itself without you having
Autonomous,
to do it.
yeah.
Like autonomously driving. That's artificial intelligence being
Now you talk about being scared.
equipped into the car
Yes.
in order to,
Right.
navigate through traffic.
I gotcha.
Well,
Gotcha.
the Tesla doesn't scare me. It's the freight trucks that
Yeah.
are going to be
Yeah, you're
driving autonomous eventually that
Yes.
scare me the most.
I agree.
So,
I agree. And the motorcycle.
Anyway, why don't we move on?
Yeah, let's introduce our guest. He's really a
I'd love
dynamic
to.
guy. I talked to him last week, and I said, "Dude, this is going to be a great episode because he's like me. He's got a lot of charisma, and he likes to talk, and he's super intelligent." And
I don't know if he wants to be associated with you.
You don't think so?
No.
Oh, I think so. Yeah. He's happy. He's happy he's here with us. But anyway, I can't wait to you're gonna introduce him, right, to the Metalworking Nation. Great. So go ahead and let the Metalworking Nation know who do we have in our studio today.
Well, we have with us on the show today Akshat Thirani. Akshat is the CEO and co-founder of Amper Technologies. He's also the recipient of Crane's Chicago Business 20 in their 20s and the SME's 30 under 30. From growing up in manufacturing with his dad, who owns a automotive manufacturing company in India, to his formal education with his bachelor's degree in computer science from Northwestern University, which is also my alma mater, to living in China and San Francisco. This man has traveled the world, and he has started a company, and he is just coming into the manufacturing industry in a storm and going to change things for the good there.
Wow.
Akshat Thirani from Amper Technologies. Welcome, Akshat.
Thanks for having me here.
Hey, you're welcome. It's a pleasure to have you. I'm excited about the interview, and I look forward to equipping and inspiring the metalworking nation with the knowledge you have and the product that you've developed, and how it is really bringing manufacturers better together to automate and run their shops more efficiently. I really think it's a great brand, and it's a great idea.
Thank you for inviting me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. So congratulations on the credentials, man. You're such a young guy, and already the Crane Chicago Business 20 in their 20s and SMEs 30 under 30. I mean, I got to ask, how did they approach you? Did you apply or what? I know it's kind of off, but I'm really interested to hear how that all came about.
Yeah. So in both these cases, with Cranes and in SME's Advanced Manufacturing magazine, I was lucky enough to have been reached out to. I had a couple of other media mentions, which I believe is how they came across me. But very lucky and honored to have been on both those lists.
I bet it really helped elevate the PR and your business. Would you think it would, or did it?
I would say it did. It also internally helped me sort of understand what our position might be with the company. So overall, it's been great. Got to meet a lot of new folks through that. So yeah,
Cool.
it was
Cool.
great.
So in addition to that, why don't you tell? You can tell the Metalworking Nation better than we can tell your story. And when I talked to you last week on the phone, I really thought it was a great story. Why don't you tell everybody that's listening to the show your manufacturing journey from growing up as a young man in India?
Absolutely. So until college, I lived in India and I've grown up over there. And pretty much the town that I lived in was centered around manufacturing. The whole economy there was driven by manufacturing. And so all my friends in school, all the people that I knew were in some way or another related to production. And I've been lucky enough to grow up in a family with 4 generations of manufacturing, right from sandpaper to auto components to plastics and so on. And so it's really been in my blood. Seen it growing up, worked summers over there. And also, funnily enough, learned 5S when I was probably in
Oh, you learned 5S?
5th grade for my bedroom on how do I clean it up.
No kidding.
Akshat, it sounds like your dad and my dad were very similar in that way, because I had to learn 5S. I didn't know I was learning it at the time from my dad too. So I agree.
Oh yeah, like what's the tack time in making eggs? All kinds of fun things.
India is a manufacturing economy. I mean, much like the United States, there's a lot of computer science going on there, but there's also a ton of manufacturing going on there. When did you have that aha moment where you're like, I've got a product that I can make, and it's going to tie both of those worlds together?
Yeah, so, coming into college, I started studying manufacturing and design engineering. And my goal long term was to run manufacturing operations and build products. And I actually really started liking computer science a lot. But as I was graduating, I saw that there's a massive difference in the kind of technology tools that software companies end up using and those that your average or your that there's a big difference in tools that typically software companies use and those that manufacturing companies use. And so
are you
so
saying
the disparity between
they're more progressive? Is that what you would say?
Or not even as much as the people are more progressive, but all of us in this room get to use, iPhones that have really advanced capabilities, whereas in a lot of shops, including my dad's, you see, paper reports and a lot of manual ways of operating, and maybe not the most modern tools, a lot of Excel and so on. So that's kind of where I was like, okay, there's a big difference in the quality and how modern a lot of tools might be, and
So that's when the light bulb went off in your head. Like there's this big disparity. Like manufacturing is just lagging behind everybody else in the technologies that we use. We're using these highly sophisticated iPhones minute by minute every day, right?
Yeah.
But yet manufacturers are still using Excel spreadsheets and paper in their businesses.
Yeah, exactly. On the flip side, really complex operations running in manufacturing, especially in a high mix, low volume, you're coordinating all these different tasks, using really advanced machines to produce components. And so it just felt kind of odd that for some reason, really software technology in particular to manage operations day to day hasn't advanced as much as a lot of the other things have.
Yeah, I mean, beyond the introduction of CNC, that period where CNC was introduced until about now, there wasn't like a gigantic jump like I think we're going to see in the future. Would you agree, Jim?
I would, and that's the 4th industrial revolution.
Well, I guess that's why they call it a revolution.
Yeah, that's what they're saying is what really is it going to be? It could be it could be robotic,
artificial
robotic,
intelligence, data, all that kind of. I mean, it's happening.
It's happening.
So Metalworking Nation, get on board. I mean,
there
like
is
I said, do your research.
Yeah, there is a shift that is definitely happening. There's no question about it.
And here's the funny thing. I started looking into, all right, how do I collect this information from these machines? And, I've studied computer science. I know how to program. And yet it was really challenging. It's not a trivial thing to connect up a machine and start producing data. especially when you have, all these different machine types out there. Some of them are old, some of them are new.
Oh, you mean like CNC machines? Like you might have a 1998 Fidel Vertical Machining Center versus a brand new 2019 Okuma or Mazak or whatever.
Exactly. And the total effort that goes into the idea that I want to collect some information, just some basic things, that my machine's running or not, or whatever that might be, to actually getting that is a lot of work. And that was really frustrating. So I was like, what is the simplest way to collect information from a machine? Now, and basically through a lot of iterations, we arrived at, every machine has a heartbeat of electricity. Almost every machine in the world uses electricity in some way or another. And so that is the aha moment, which was, all right, every machine has a pulse that we can tap into and capture the most important things that really matter.
When you talk about a heartbeat, are you talking about like because machines run on alternating current? Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, as every part is made, it creates a signature. And maybe it's a cycle time of a minute, or maybe it's an hour, whatever that might be. But every time parts are made, there's a draw in electricity, and that kind of tells that some action is happening.
So before we get into the product end of it, I want to know more about. So you grew up in India, and then you moved to the States when you were how old, Akshat?
I was 17 when I started college. Yeah.
Okay, so you're 17 when you started college, and you started college where?
At Northwestern University, which is right outside Chicago.
Gotcha. But then, so you did your 4-year degree there, and then you moved on to China or San Francisco, or am I mixing those up?
First in Shenzhen, China, for about 3 months.
Okay.
And then San Francisco.
And what did you do in both those locations?
Right.
Yeah. So, my senior year, it's spring quarter, and I'm like, all right, I want to start this company. I'm going all in. And had the chance to join a program, a 3-month-long accelerator, where essentially got to live in Shenzhen for a little bit, see what it's like to create electronics. Like that's where a lot of the electronics in the world are produced, and so it was really fascinating. As we were developing a hardware and software product. It was really interesting learning about how do you launch a internet-connected hardware product. And really neat program. It's backed by a U.S. Venture capital firm, and there's like over 60 companies working out of that one space from all over the world. So I had a really exciting time.
You were there by yourself?
I was with my 2 co-founders.
Oh, wow.
Now, as a part of being in this program, did you get venture capital that was invested into Amper in order to get started?
So right out of the gate, as part of the program, they made an investment in us. So that was really exciting. And then, once we did that,
it validates you.
Yeah, I mean, you're a senior in college and you get this investment. It's super exciting and really no reason not to do it. And anyway, after the program, decided to join another sort of startup program in San Francisco, which was really beneficial for me personally because it was more focused around starting up a business, not just how do you create a product. And so, learned a lot around, managing a company, getting sales started, operations, and so on.
Now, here in Chicago, we actually, there is for lack of a better word, a hub of making physical products. Have you ever got involved with M-Hub?
Yeah, so, after a year of travel between living in Shenzhen and in San Francisco, we decided, to grow our company. We really wanted to be in the Midwest in Chicago. It's like the perfect blend of, talent in manufacturing and technology and so on. And so decided to relocate, move back here. And we actually started working out of M-Hub, which is...
Oh, you did start working out of
okay.
M-Hub.
Yeah, so we were actually based over there for close to a year. Before going into our own space. So M-Hub is more of a co-working space with a lot of shared equipment.
Yep.
It helped us kind of get our initial prototypes and versions out of the door. But as we've been growing, we got our own space, and it's been really exciting.
Now, what exactly does your product do, and why should a manufacturing company, kind of have a light bulb moment and say, I need to implement something like this?
Yeah, to get the context of what we're trying to solve is around focus. Every company has limited resources, and to really identify and what is the most important thing to work on, you need to have data and facts to back up what is the 80-20 that drives
making your
results.
decisions.
Yeah. And so that's really the ultimate goal, which is to empower people on the floor and in manufacturing companies to really make better decisions and be more focused. And in terms of what we actually, the product, the way the product works is essentially it's a real-time tool that tells what's happening on the shop floor.
Going back to that heartbeat.
Exactly. And so it tells you about how your machines are performing, about your efficiencies, what are the leading root causes to downtime, to job costing, and so on. So it's a tool that helps identify what's happening on the floor and reports this in a really modern, simple way.
So let's break that down a little bit. So when you first started installing this efficiency tool or automation, you were obviously doing it probably pro bono just to see how it was going right at the beginning stage, because you had no data to back it up. You had no idea what it was going to. What did you learn? What were you like? Oh my God, this is awesome. This is going to be big. And tell me how you evolved the product brand, because you had this product in your head. You said, this is where I'm going to go with it. And then you started to develop it. And then you actually put it in a real-time shop and started using it. What was the initial response that you learned from that?
Yeah, there were several key moments in the lifetime of the business. So one of them was about the technology itself. PLC integration or connecting up the controllers of machines is really hard. And as you mentioned, we had the chance to deploy this for free for a customer and saw that it actually worked. As
well as you thought it was going to, or better than.
Better. It's in a way it is really intriguing, because we had a hypothesis that when parts are made on a machine, they produce electrical signals. And that makes sense because, a spindle is working harder as it's making parts. And so that was the hypothesis behind this idea.
So
and
simple hypothesis, right?
So Jim, are you familiar with the whole notion of a hypothesis?
I am.
I'm not trying to be condescending. I'm just asking.
No, that's fine.
It's like you have a thought and you're like, I think this is what will happen. And then you say, okay,
Jason.
Let's test it.
I can Google that in 2 seconds. Thank you, Mr. Zanger, for helping me out there. But it's okay. I got it. And I'm really intrigued by what Akshat has developed. And I'd like to hear more from him, not from you. So tell me, when you put this on that machine tool, I just want to know, is like, you're a week, a month, 2 months, 3 months in, and you're like, oh my gosh, you go to your partners, and you're like, I had no idea we were going to be getting this kind of result, this data. You must have been like, every night you're like laying in bed thinking, this is going to be huge.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, the reason we were able to do this was because, several really forward-thinking manufacturers that allowed us to kind of work with them in the early stages. But yeah, it was like, you looked at raw data and you could suddenly see all these patterns that really made it look very clear that parts are being made, that cycles are happening on a machine, and really neat things that you could see just by analyzing that data. And that was the moment where we were like, okay, we have the ability to actually launch this product. And on the flip side, as we were talking to these folks and walking around the shop floors, we kept seeing people write down, my machine was down from like 803 to 850
on a piece of paper,
and key that into Excel, and then key that into their ERP system. And man, I would say like
I bet it just drove you nuts. I bet you probably went through the ceiling.
Yeah, I was like, this is insane. You have some really skilled people that are wasting a lot of their precious time. And then what was worse off was I would see these stacks of paper lying around. And to me, that was like, no one's really looking at it. And so those are like two things that I noticed that were like, that made me believe that there's value behind this in saving time and adding, time back to, everyone's day. And secondly, showing what you can do with that sort of information. And, it was all happening on the shop floor, like, as that's where the company was being born in a way.
And what year was that?
That was, mid 2017.
Mid 2017. So go ahead, Jason.
So going back to what the product does, so you're essentially capturing the heartbeat of the machine. And what is, so for somebody, say, that's the CEO of a manufacturing company, what information are they going to get when their shop floor connects this device to their machines? Like simplified data. He doesn't want to spend a lot of time seeing all the heartbeats. He just wants to know, boom, these are the 3 things that I need to pay attention to.
I want to know, as a machine shop owner, are the spindles running? Are we keeping the spindles running? And am I making money? That really, because that's all that the leader, the CEO, the owner of the company wants to know. And they just want real-time, simple data.
Exactly. No, I think you got it exactly right, which is fundamentally it starts telling you what machines are running, what is your utilization like, what is your downtime really like, and so you can start identifying which machines are running the most, running the least, and more importantly, for ones that aren't running a lot, you can understand what are the reasons your machines were down. So was it because of setup? Was it because you didn't have an operator available? Or you didn't have a job scheduled for it, or whatever that might be. And so,
but it's only tracking if it's under power. Is that right?
So we did and we've mentioned this a couple times on Making Chips, about a 6-hour roundtable on Industry 4.0 at the Sandvik headquarters in New Jersey a year or so ago.
Yeah.
Nice.
And one of the statements that was made was, if you are not implementing some kind of data collection and utilization into your shop in the next 5 years,
you're going to go out of business.
You're going to go bye-bye. And it's kind of like that
offended.
old, yeah, it was kind of like that.
I was really offended by that.
Yeah, it's kind of like that old sentiment of, if you don't get a CNC machine and replace that, this is what I thought of, and replace that Bridgeport or that lathe, you're going to go out of business too. And to a certain extent that has come true. It probably takes a little bit longer than 5 years, but I would say that those factors that you brought up are probably the simplest things to collect. And and they made the statement, and I asked the question, well, is this really complex? Do I need to collect 20 pieces of data, or can I just collect one? And everybody on the panel was like, just collect 1 or 2 pieces of data. Don't make it complex. And the pieces of data they talked about, the uptime and everything, like the utilization. I mean, those are the pieces of data that said collect that first and start analyzing it.
Manufacturing at its core is all about simplicity and practicality. And the moment I start hearing a lot of terms like IoT, Industrial 4.0, personally, I don't really understand what that means. And that makes me, as someone in this industry, really skeptical of what I'm being sold or told I should do. And so until I can fully understand the facts, I'm pretty skeptical. And so that's why, in fact, if you go to our website, you won't see the word IoT, Industry 4.0, mentioned anywhere, because I don't understand what it means. And so,
yeah, you don't want to throw out buzzwords.
I love that. You're being authentic. And you know what you're doing? You're connecting to that shop floor manufacturer, because a lot of shop floor manufacturers like myself really don't understand what all these acronyms are.
I thought you liked buzzwords.
Well, I like buzzwords, but I don't like acronyms because it confuses me, and I don't really know what it means, and I got to look it up, and it's just a lot of stuff. So
coming out soon, the Making Chips Guide to Acronyms.
Yes, you're on that, right? That's one of your rocks for the next quarter, right? So anyway, what I like that you've done, Akshat, is you've created a product that's going to be really simple for the CEO, the top level guy, that's going to be taking this data that is extracting from the machines, and it's going to be put into an easy format for them to digest and make changes.
Yeah, I mean, literally, in just a quick spiel,
Spiel it.
You clip the sensor around the power cable. From that, it starts reading the electrical signals, and it's transmitted over the cell network. So it's no crazy IT integration and ERP integration.
You don't even need to hook it up to Wi-Fi.
No, you just clip it on, starts transmitting. Now,
via what? Bluetooth or
cellular data?
Oh, cellular data.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
And on your phone, you start getting real-time data telling you about your utilization, your downtime codes. It tells you when your machines need maintenance based on actual run times, not just every year.
And that's probably more of that artificial intelligence that's telling you those things, right?
No,
right. I mean,
I don't think so.
It's more so on true hours
Right.
based on
So,
actual
so you're,
production.
you're
machine's been running for
programming the
15
hours into it. Okay.
The technology leap is that the system just works across any kind of machine type. So, the kind of parts you make in your shop, Jim, look very different from any other shop, right? Because there are a million types of components in the world. So there are infinite electrical signals being produced. The leap in technology that we've developed is that we can look across any kind of machine. And it kind of learns the patterns as it goes along and produces that real-time data. That's kind of where the innovation is in the product.
So when you hook this up to a Haas or a Fidel or a Mazak or an Okuma, is there a learning period? Is it like a 1 week, 2 months,
Yeah,
1
it's
year?
usually like
What is it?
within a week.
Within a week, you're this adapter, this ancillary tool that we're collecting data from is learned how the machine is running.
Exactly.
Okay. So it's watching and it collecting and analyzing, and within a 1 week you can kind of discern how the machine is operating.
Exactly.
Okay, very interesting.
How do you take the amps and collecting the simple information into so many other pieces of information for the machine?
Yeah, it's really interesting because it's a lot of signal processing, and on a very simple level, it's like a heartbeat every time a part is made.
Great simile, yeah.
So that just imagine a cycle on a Swiss machine. It's made a part and it creates an electrical signal that just keeps repeating every single time that same part is made. And
So the spindle turns on, it goes to 20,000 RPM. There's going to be a lot of amp
And
pull.
that has a different like kind of code as to something else.
Exactly.
Okay. And when you engage into a cut, that probably has a different, code as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's kind of how it's working. But at the end of the day, that's just a means to an end. What you actually end up getting at its most fundamental level is, Pareto charts that tells you, which machines have the most downtime and why, so that you can start targeting the top areas that lead to downtime. And kind of what you mentioned earlier on capacity, what's really going to unlock more capacity for you.
Right.
Now you can focus on what those reasons are.
Right.
And not on things that may seem like symptoms, but aren't really the major contributors to downtime. And I think this is kind of exciting for me, which is to empower people on the floor to make decisions. So, for example, you can have your operators know what's happening so that you don't need to micromanage anyone, and they can make their own decisions. Let's say they run an unattended run. They can have an alert that if it's down for 5 minutes, I want to get a text message, and it's immediately fired out to them. So
Very
they
cool.
can make their own decisions rather than, you having to walk around or
Right.
have someone else do that, and so on.
So Akshat, how granular does the data get? I mean, in regards to amps, I'm not an electrician, but how do the algorithms know that if the machine tool amps increase 1/100th, that something has changed, and how do you identify and isolate that metric?
Yeah, it comes down to like
Tough question, right?
Yeah, I mean it's definitely on the more technical end of like how does it interpret these signals,
Right.
And there's like a lot of science that goes behind it, like a lot of algorithms.
Be honest,
and,
yeah.
And so essentially, we've collected hundreds and hundreds of machines' data and build these models based on that massive data set and done training on that. And so I'm not the expert in how to like develop these algorithms, but essentially it's by looking at a lot of signals and developing these models.
Gotcha. Akshat, what does your future look like, and what is the vision for Amper?
So our goal is to essentially build really simple and practical tools for manufacturers. And when I walk into a shop floor, there's just like a million problems that, can be solved. And so our goal is to, stay true to our thesis, which is make it simple and really practical in the way that people use products by making a consumer product-like tool for manufacturers. And so there's so many problems around quality control, around, training people up, around, supply chain
cutting tools.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, we have a pretty extensive product roadmap when it comes to tools for manufacturers. We call it a factory operating system, or factory OS. That's kind of our roadmap. And yeah, I'm really excited. We have a really interesting team right across from hardware, software, manufacturing expertise. So,
And you're in Westtown in Chicago, very near to M-Hub, right?
correct.
Yeah.
So what would you we've talked a lot about what other people have said about what the manufacturing leaders out there need to do in the future. What advice would you give to the metalworking nation out there about what they should be thinking about as it relates to IoT and data collection and data utilization?
Yeah, I think my advice would be to first understand what the goal is, which is to ship good parts on time at the quoted cost, and to look at technology tools that really help achieve that and help people on the floor. As I mentioned, I'm somewhat skeptical of a lot of terms like IoT, Industry 4.0 being thrown around. So I would really drill into to get that goal, what kind of metrics do you need for your team, and to focus on that. The second would be often the cost of taking on these projects is a lot more, like IT resources, PLC upgrades, integration. And so kind of factoring in the lifetime cost of such a product. And finally, talking to the people on the floor, because ultimately those are the folks that are going to use it the most.
Mm-hmm.
So really understanding what is it that will unlock their time or their potential as a leading indicator.
Gotcha. Well, Akshat, what a pleasure to meet you today. Thank you so much for showing up at the Fusion event. I know you're partnering with Craig on this in some capacity, and it's been an absolute pleasure to learn how you developed the product, and you've had such great success at such a young age. I'm very proud of you, and I wish you the best of luck. I genuinely do.
Yeah, absolutely, Akshat. And if the Metalworking Nation out there can hear maybe the machines buzzing or the applause going on, we're going to, as soon as we're done here, Akshat, we're going to go watch your presentation, which is going to be on Make Your Machines Ruthlessly Efficient. So you're going to make that presentation. Jim and I are going to go watch you, and we're going to learn even more than what we just learned now.
You bet. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. So, Jim, are you ready?
I'm
Are
ready.
you ready to put it
You know
in?
what? I want to be just like Akshat when I grow up. I really do. He's a smart guy.
I think you're already grown.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But I love millennials in this industry. I think they're bringing a bright light into our industry.
Yeah, a different perspective and
different
way of doing
perspective, just,
things. Bringing the iPhone to the CNC machine.
Yeah. If the Metalworking Nation would like to reach out to Akshat, I'm sure he wouldn't mind linking up or connecting on LinkedIn. You spell his name Akshat. Last name is spelled Thirani, and you can go to his website. It's amper.xyz.
Yeah, cool
It's
website.
not a .com. It's
amper.xyz.
XYZ. And that's easy to remember. And if you like this episode, please help to equip and inspire other manufacturing leaders by leveraging a kind review on Apple iTunes about this show. Leave your positive ratings. It really helps us. It makes Jason smile. It makes me even smile even wider. And, it's always a pleasure to equip and inspire you. If you have any questions about the show, give us a shout at info@makingchips.com. And don't forget to subscribe to our weekly Boring Bar newsletter. Text CHIPS to 38470. And Jason, at the end of the day,
If you're not collecting data,
you're not making money.
bam.
Bam.